So why did I start using Dux-Soup? I think my honest answer is I absolutely hate selling. And what Dux-Soup has allowed me to do is to automate that process and to help me kind of, just leave all that to one side so I can spend my time actually running my business, delivering projects, and spend less time selling. And I only start selling when it becomes most relevant. The way I'm using Dux-Soup today really is in two ways. I use it to reach out to potential new LinkedIn connections. And secondly, I use it for campaigns to people I'm already connected with. I use it very much in combination of other tools. So I'm using obviously LinkedIn. I'm using LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Um, and Sales Navigator is a critical part of the way I use Dux-Soup. It allows me to target the type of people I want to reach out to, and then I can enroll those people into different campaigns. But essentially, I'm using Dux-Soup maybe every other month, 3 times, 4 times a year to set up those campaigns, to send out regular daily new connections, and then 3 or 4 times a year to reach out to my existing list of contacts, my existing network of contacts. I really like the tool primarily because of the ease of automation. And in fact, some of the changes they've made over time. I started using Dux-Soup, I think it was in 2019, using the turbo feature, but they were constantly improving it and updating it. But one of the big improvements, not just the Cloud Edition, which I'll come back to, is the automated enrolling feature. It's so easy. So I use Sales Navigator to create targeted searches for the type of people we want to reach out to. And it is quite filtered and quite specific. But once we identify those in Sales Navigator, I press auto enroll, enroll 500, enroll 1,000, and then job done. And I don't need to look at Dux-Soup probably for another month or another 2 months. And as long as I've got associated content to support the campaigns that we run. So it's that ease of enrollment. The other obviously reason I like Dux-Soup is the ability to create different campaigns and having multiple campaigns running at the same time. Again, I think that's a relatively a new improvement that they made. So I will have up to 4 campaigns running. I will have a couple of new connection campaigns running, maybe new connections for people who are based in Europe, and then new connections who are based outside of Europe in other parts of the world. And then I'll have a first degree campaign going again to my contacts in Europe and my contacts outside of the world. And I can have maybe a slightly different message to those people. And particularly if I'm trying to learn, what messaging works better than others, again, it allows me that level of, granularity or, a level of filtering and sort of nuancing, which I think is really, really helpful. Dux-Soup's enabled me to do 2 things. Firstly, it's allowed me to go on holiday. And secondly, it's allowed me to generate leads on autopilot. And really, I think they are one of the same thing. But let me tell you what happened in January. I went on a really lovely long holiday. I took 4 weeks off. But running a small business, you can't really do that. And I didn't want to completely, run away from my clients. So I set up the Dux-Soup. Well, I subscribed to the Cloud Edition and I set up an automated campaign. I've never done it before. Prior to that, I had the manual version and I was using a second laptop that was kind of running intermittently. Google would close down, so my campaign would shut down, and maybe 5 days later, I'd realize about it. So I set up, before I went on holiday, this the Cloud Edition, and it was sending out 250 messages every day. So I was enjoying my holiday. And I would be seeing on my phone, I wasn't checking my phone all the time, but maybe once every other day I'd check, and suddenly I was getting lots of messages saying such and such a person's messaged you. So I'd set up some manual responses on my phone that I could just cut and paste and reply back to them. So it's really transformed my lead generation. It's allowed me to actually, go on holiday. I was slightly flippant, but fundamentally, it's allowed me to autopilot my lead generation so that I can concentrate on the things that I most enjoy doing, which is, delivering projects for my client. And ultimately, Dux-Soup is only one of the tools you can use to generate leads. My most effective lead generation tool is word of mouth and delivering great projects. But of course, if I just relied on that, that wouldn't be enough. So I do need to generate new leads. So, it really has allowed me to automate a lot of the sort of heavy lifting of lead generation to allow me to concentrate on other things, whether that's a holiday or whether that's running projects for my clients. I would recommend Dux-Soup to other people, but I suppose it comes with a slight caveat. It is not the silver bullet. It needs to be used in a combination of other tools that you may have. And, it's a tool that really suits me and the kind of the stage that my business is at. Clearly there are other ways of generating leads, and I'm not saying that old-fashioned ways of picking up the phone, knocking on the door, whatever your business is, those are all appropriate. So it's horses for courses, but it's certainly a great way of automating the sales process, as I've said earlier. It's sort of taken the pressure away, and it just allows that to go on in the background. And a very important part of the lead generation work that we do is it's about being patient and it's about nurturing our clients. And I suppose I've really only learned that through Dux-Soup. There's been examples this year. We've had two really, really nice projects that we are currently working on. And it came out of the lead generation that we did in January. But one of those contacts was somebody we were talking to in 2019. And it took, I don't know how many messages, but 6 years later, or 5 years later, sorry, we got an email from one of his colleagues saying, "Hey, Michael, such and such a person has said, you might be able to help us." And so it really demonstrates, certainly for us, it's a great way of nurturing, just touching people on the shoulder, reminding them that who you are, and also more importantly, what you can do for them. So yes, I would recommend it. It comes, with caveats. And also I think it was important that we have a content strategy as well. So again, I've learned that we need good content. I can't just use Dux-Soup to say, "Hey, I'm Michael, would you work for me?" Or "Can I work for you?" Or "This is what we do." I think it's got to be more subtle than that. And I've learned that over time. My messaging has got better and better, I think. And certainly it comes with other tools. So again, yes, I'd recommend it, but think about how you'll use it and whether it's appropriate for your business.